His wife showed up at my rehearsal dinner. Not ex-wife. Current wife. With 2 children. She'd been looking for him for 2 years. Posted to r/true off my chest. I'm writing this from what was supposed to be my honeymoon suite. The ocean view is beautiful. The champagne the hotel left is still untouched on the ice bucket. My wedding dress hangs in the closet like a ghost of someone I used to be, someone who existed 48 hours ago, someone who believed she knew what her life would look like. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I'm 26 years old. And yesterday, I was supposed to become a wife. Instead, I'm sitting here alone, trying to understand how I could have been so completely, devastatingly fooled. I keep replaying every conversation, every dinner, every night we spent together. Looking for the lie. The horrible thing is, I can't find where the performance ended and the real person began. Maybe there was never a real person at all. Let me start from the beginning. How we met, 3 years ago. I met him at a coffee shop, which feels painfully cliché now. I was grading finger painting projects, of all things, surrounded by papers covered in handprints and glitter. He sat down at the table next to me, dressed in a crisp button-down and slacks, laptop open, looking like he'd stepped out of a business magazine. He made a comment about the glitter on my cheek. I laughed. He asked what I did. When I told him I taught kindergarten, he didn't do what so many men had done before. He didn't dismiss it as cute or easy or ask when I planned to get a real job. He asked me what I loved most about it. He listened like my answer mattered. He told me he was a financial consultant. Independent, he said, working with high-net-worth clients on investment strategies. He traveled frequently for work, meeting clients in different cities, managing portfolios worth millions. It explained so much. The nice watch. The tailored clothes. The sleek car I'd see him drive away in. He seemed successful in the way that quiet confidence suggests. Not flashy, not boastful, just secure. On our 3rd date, he took me to a restaurant I'd only ever walked past, assuming I'd never afford it. He ordered wine without looking at the prices. He picked up the check without hesitation. When I offered to split it, he shook his head and said, "Please, let me take care of you." I should have noticed that he always wanted to take care of me. At the time, it felt romantic. We dated for a year before he asked me to move in with him. His apartment was beautiful. Modern furniture, clean lines, a view of the city skyline. He told me he owned it. I had no reason to doubt him. He was everything I thought I wanted. Stable. Successful. Attentive. He remembered small things. My favorite flowers, the way I liked my coffee, the names of my students. He asked about my day and actually listened to the answers. He held me when I cried about difficult parent meetings or budget cuts at the school. My mother loved him. My friends were jealous. Everyone said I'd found one of the good ones. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? The engagement. He proposed on our 2-year anniversary. We were at a rooftop restaurant, the city glittering below us, and he got down on one knee with a ring that took my breath away. A princess-cut diamond, he said, nearly 2 carats. The kind of ring I'd pinned on secret Pinterest boards but never thought I'd actually wear. I said yes before he even finished asking. The wedding planning began immediately. I wanted something elegant but not extravagant, a ceremony at a historic venue, a reception for about 150 guests, good food, a live band. He agreed to everything. When we discussed budgets, he insisted on paying for his half. "You work so hard," he said. "You barely make anything teaching. Let me handle this." I was uncomfortable with the imbalance, but he was persuasive. He said his business was doing well, that he'd just closed a major deal, that he wanted our wedding to be perfect. My mother contributed what she could. I dipped into my savings. He assured me his half would be covered. The deposits were paid. The vendors were booked. The dress, my beautiful ivory dress with the delicate lace sleeves, hung in my closet for months, waiting. I was so happy. I was so stupid. The red flags I explained away. My mother asked why I didn't see the signs. I've been asking myself the same thing. Maybe I saw them and just didn't want to look. He was always vague about work. When I asked about his clients, he'd say they were confidential. When I asked about his day, he'd give non-answers, meetings, calls, the usual. I never saw his office. He said he worked from home mostly, or at client sites. Once, I suggested meeting him for lunch at his firm, and he changed the subject so smoothly that I didn't realize until later that he'd never answered. His business trips happened frequently, 3, sometimes 4 times a month. He'd text me good night from hotel rooms, tell me he missed me, send me photos of cityscapes from high-rise windows. But never photos of him. Never photos of meetings or dinners or anything that proved he was actually there working. His family was strange around money. I met his mother once, at a holiday dinner. She seemed nervous the entire time, watching him like she was waiting for something bad to happen. When I mentioned his success, she got quiet. I assumed it was jealousy or family tension. Now I wonder if she knew. Now I wonder if she was trying to protect me without being able to say the words. He never introduced me to colleagues. He said his work was solitary, that he didn't have office friends, that his clients were his focus. I accepted it. I was so good at accepting things. The expensive things he bought never quite added up. The car was always being detailed or serviced, so he'd drive rentals. The apartment had furniture that looked staged, like a model unit. His closet was full of designer clothes, but I never saw him actually shop. Small inconsistencies. Easy to dismiss. Impossible to unsee now. The discovery, the day before my wedding. The rehearsal dinner was at a restaurant downtown. Both families, the wedding party, our closest friends. I was wearing a cream-colored dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion. I felt beautiful. I felt lucky. We were halfway through the appetizers when she walked in. She wasn't dressed for a party. She looked exhausted, desperate, like someone who had driven through the night. She stood in the doorway, scanning the room, and when her eyes landed on my fiancé, something in her face crumbled and hardened at the same time. "There you are," she said. Her voice carried across the entire restaurant. "I've been looking for you for 2 years." My fiancé went pale. Not embarrassed pale. Not confused pale. Caught. She walked toward our table, and everyone went silent. My mother grabbed my hand. My maid of honor stood up like she was ready to intervene. But the woman wasn't aggressive. She was just broken. "I'm his wife," she said, looking directly at me. "Not ex-wife. His wife. We've been married for 8 years. We have 2 children." I don't remember what I said. I don't think I said anything. The room tilted. Sound became muffled. I watched my fiancé's face, waiting for him to laugh, to explain, to tell me this was some kind of insane misunderstanding. He didn't. He just sat there, jaw tight, eyes darting toward the exit like he was calculating whether he could run. His wife, his real wife, pulled out her phone and showed me photos. Wedding photos. Family photos. A house. 2 kids, young, maybe 6 and 4. A life. A whole life that existed parallel to the one he'd built with me. She wasn't there to hurt me. She was there to warn me. She'd been searching for him for 2 years, ever since he disappeared. She'd finally tracked him down through social media, a photo someone had posted of our engagement party, tagged with his name. The rehearsal dinner ended. I don't know how. I was somewhere outside myself, watching everything fall apart like a building collapsing in slow motion. Update 1. The investigation, the night before what should have been my wedding. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Instead, I did what any rational person would do. I started investigating. His wife stayed at a hotel nearby. She'd driven 9 hours to stop the wedding. She'd brought documents, bank statements, court records. She sat with me in my hotel room until 2 in the morning, piecing together the truth. He wasn't a financial consultant. He'd never been a financial consultant. He didn't have a degree. He didn't have a license. His entire career was a fabrication. He was unemployed. He'd been unemployed for years. He made his money by finding women, charming them, getting engaged, and living off their generosity while he continued the con elsewhere. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the second or third. There was a woman 2 states over who'd given him $40,000 for a business investment. There was a woman across the country who'd co-signed a loan that he'd defaulted on. There was a woman who'd lost her house. And then there was his wife, who'd watched him drain their joint accounts and disappear, leaving her with 2 children and mountains of debt. The car. Leased. Months behind on payments. The apartment. He didn't own it. He was subletting it from someone who didn't know he'd moved me in. The ring. I had it appraised 2 days after the rehearsal dinner. Cubic zirconia in a cheap gold-plated setting. Worth maybe $200. His half of the wedding costs. Paid with money he'd borrowed from another woman, someone he was actively engaged to in another state. She thought he was planning their wedding. He was using her money to pay for mine. The depth of the con took my breath away. The detail. The patience. The complete lack of anything resembling a conscience. He didn't just steal money. He stole 3 years of my life. He stole my trust. He stole my ability to believe what people tell me. Update 2. The confrontation, the day of what should have been my wedding. I went to the venue anyway. Not in my dress. Not as a bride. I went because I needed to look him in the face and understand. He was there. I don't know why he showed up. Maybe he thought he could still talk his way out of it. Maybe he thought I was weak enough to be persuaded. Maybe he just wanted to see the wreckage he'd created. He was standing near the altar when I walked in, the altar where we were supposed to exchange vows. The flowers were already arranged. The chairs were set up. Everything was perfect and pointless. "You came," he said, like this was a reunion instead of a reckoning. "Your wife came too," I said. "The night before our wedding. With documentation. With court records. With evidence that you've done this to multiple women." His expression didn't change. That's what haunts me. There was no shame. No guilt. No recognition of the destruction he'd caused. Just calculation. Like he was still trying to figure out how to spin this. "Look," he said, stepping closer, voice dropping to that intimate tone I used to find so comforting. "It's complicated. My marriage has been over for years. She's unstable. She's been stalking me, trying to ruin my life." "Your children are 6 and 4, I interrupted. "You disappeared 2 years ago. The math doesn't add up." He paused. Recalculated. Tried again. "I was going to tell you. After the wedding. I was going to explain everything. We could have worked through it together." "Worked through your other fiancé? The one whose money paid for this wedding?" That stopped him. His face flickered, just for a second, with something that might have been surprise. He hadn't known I'd found her. He hadn't expected me to dig. "You should be grateful," he said finally, and there it was, the real him, surfacing for maybe the first time. "I chose you. Out of everyone, I chose you to be my wife. I could have picked anyone." I almost laughed. It was so absurd. So delusional. So completely, terrifyingly real. "You don't have the ability to choose," I said. "You're not even a real person. You're just a series of lies wearing a suit." I turned and walked away. He called after me, but I didn't look back. There was nothing left to see. Update 3. The aftermath. The worst week of my life. Canceling a wedding the day of is exactly as devastating as you'd imagine. I lost every deposit. Thousands of dollars. My savings, my mother's contribution, everything. The venue kept their money. The caterer kept their money. The florist, the photographer, the band, everyone kept their money. They had contracts. They weren't required to give refunds for decisions made at the last minute, even decisions made because the groom was a criminal. The humiliation was almost worse than the financial loss. 150 people knew. Friends, family, co-workers, the principal of my school, the parents of my students. Everyone had received invitations. Everyone had bought gifts. Everyone had to be told. My mother made most of the calls. I couldn't speak without crying. I couldn't explain without falling apart. Some people were kind. Some people were awkward. Some people asked questions that felt like accusations. "Didn't you know? Weren't there signs? How could you miss this?" I wanted to scream at them. How could I miss it? Because he was good. Because he studied his targets. Because he knew exactly what to say and when to say it. Because he made being fooled feel like being loved. The wedding guests who came anyway, to support me, not to celebrate, they're the only reason I got through that day. My maid of honor stayed with me for 3 days straight. My mother held me while I sobbed. My father, who I barely speak to, drove 6 hours just to sit with me in silence. They saved me. They reminded me that real love exists. That real people exist. That not everyone is a lie wearing human skin. Update 4. The connection. Finding the other women. His wife reached out a week after the non-wedding. She'd started a group, a network of women he'd deceived. There were 7 of us that she'd found. 7 women across 5 states, spanning nearly a decade. We connected through video calls, sharing our stories, comparing notes, piecing together the full picture of who this man actually was. The woman who lost $40,000 was a nurse. Single mother. She'd met him at her son's baseball game, where he was pretending to coach. He'd told her he was a widower. The woman who lost her house was a librarian. She'd met him at a charity event. He'd told her he was an estate attorney. The woman whose money paid for my wedding was a dental hygienist. She thought she was planning her own ceremony. She'd given him $30,000 for their venue deposit. His wife, His real wife, she's been looking for him for 2 years. She warned the other women when she found them. Now we're all connected by this man who used us. Every story was the same. He found women who were stable, responsible, slightly lonely. He studied them. He mirrored their values back at them. He made himself into exactly what they wanted. And then he drained them, financially, emotionally, completely. The pattern was meticulous. He never overlapped too obviously. He kept his fiancées in different states, different social circles, different realities. He managed multiple identities, multiple histories, multiple futures, all of them fake, all of them designed to extract maximum value before moving on. We started gathering evidence. Bank records, text messages, photos, contracts, anything that proved the systematic nature of his fraud. We went to the police. Multiple jurisdictions. The woman who lost her house had already filed a report that went nowhere. The woman who lost $40,000 had been told it was a civil matter. But when we came together, 7 women, 7 testimonies, years of documentation, they finally listened. Update 5, the resolution, justice, but not healing. He was arrested 2 months after my wedding. That wasn't. The charges were extensive. Wire fraud, identity theft, bigamy, financial exploitation. The prosecutor told us he could face up to 15 years. He tried to run. Of course he did. He was found in another state, already working on his next target, a recently divorced woman he'd met at a grief support group. She'd lost her husband to cancer 6 months earlier. He was already living in her house. We warned her. She didn't believe us at first. Who would? Who wants to believe that the person they're falling for is nothing but a parasite in human form? But she saw the evidence. She saw our faces. She saw 7 women with the same story, the same devastation, the same betrayal. She asked him to leave. He threatened her. The police arrived before he could do more than threaten. He's in jail now, awaiting trial. His wife is filing for divorce. Finally, after years of abandonment, she'll be legally free. The other women are pursuing civil cases for financial recovery. Some of them might get something back. Most won't. I won't. My savings are gone. My mother's contribution is gone. The school where I teach gave me an advance on my salary to cover my rent while I tried to recover. My co-workers took up a collection to help with my bills. The kindness was almost as devastating as the betrayal. It showed me how close I'd come to having nothing. Where I am now. 3 months have passed since the day I sat in this honeymoon suite, staring at a wedding dress that represented everything I thought my life would be. I'm back at work. My kindergartners don't know what happened, and I'm grateful for that. They just know I was absent for a while and that I've seemed sad. One of them brought me a drawing last week, a picture of me surrounded by hearts, with "Miss You" written in crooked letters. I cried in the supply closet for 10 minutes after that. I'm in therapy. I've had to be. The betrayal isn't something you just get over. It rewires your brain. It makes you question everything, not just what he said, but what anyone says. Every compliment feels like manipulation. Every kindness feels like a trap. My therapist tells me this is normal. She tells me that trusting again is a process, not an event. She tells me I'm not broken, just wounded. Some days I believe her. The other women have become something like friends. We check in with each other. We share updates about the case. We remind each other that what happened wasn't our fault, that being deceived by someone dedicated to deception doesn't make us stupid. It makes us human. His wife sent me a message last week. She thanked me for listening that night at the rehearsal dinner. She said she'd been afraid I wouldn't believe her. She said she'd been afraid she was too late. She wasn't too late. She saved me from a lifetime of lies. She gave me the truth, even when it destroyed everything I thought I knew. Final thoughts. I've had a lot of time to think about what happened. Too much time, probably. The thoughts spiral if I let them. He didn't just steal money. He stole my ability to trust what people tell me. He stole my belief that I could read people, that I could protect myself, that I could tell the difference between love and performance. But here's what I've realized. I couldn't have known. None of us could have. When someone is dedicated enough to a lie, when they study their targets and craft their personas with that level of precision, there's no foolproof defense. There's no red flag bright enough. There's no amount of caution that makes you immune. The only reason I'm not still trapped in his web is because his wife was brave enough to find me. The only reason he's facing justice is because we came together and refused to be isolated by shame. I'm not healed. I'm not over it. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone again. But I'm surviving. I'm rebuilding. I'm surrounded by people who showed up when everything fell apart, and I'm learning that their love, the real kind, the kind that asks for nothing in return, is worth more than anything he could have given me. My wedding dress is in my mother's closet now. I couldn't look at it. I couldn't throw it away either. Maybe someday I'll know what to do with it. Maybe someday I'll wear it, for someone real, in a ceremony that means something. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll donate it to someone who can use it without the weight of what it represents. Maybe I'll cut it into pieces and make something new. For now, I'm just trying to get through each day. I'm teaching my kindergartners that it's okay to make mistakes. I'm reminding them that being kind matters more than being smart. I'm showing them, through everything I do, that people are basically good, even though some part of me isn't sure I believe that anymore. He's going to prison. His other victims are rebuilding. His wife is finally free. And I'm sitting here, writing this story, hoping that someone somewhere reads it and recognizes the signs I missed. If something feels too perfect, it might be. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. Trust your instincts, even when they're inconvenient. Ask the hard questions, even when it feels like you're being paranoid. And if someone ever shows up at your rehearsal dinner claiming to be your fiancé's wife, believe her. Listen to her. Let her save you from a life built on fiction. I did. And even though it destroyed everything, it also gave me something real. The truth. My truth. The only foundation worth building on. Edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming support. I didn't expect this post to resonate with so many people. For those asking, yes, I'm happy to share updates as the trial progresses. For those who've reached out with similar stories, I believe you. I see you. You're not alone. And to the woman who commented that she thinks she might be in a similar situation, please trust yourself. Please investigate. Please reach out to someone you trust. It's better to be wrong and feel foolish than to be right and find out too late. The truth is always worth it. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Here's what I learned from almost marrying a complete fiction. When someone is dedicated enough to a lie, there's no foolproof defense. There's no red flag bright enough. There's no amount of caution that makes you immune. I keep replaying every conversation, every dinner, every night we spent together. Looking for the lie. The horrible thing is, I can't find where the performance ended and the real person began. Maybe there was never a real person at all. For 3 years, I thought I knew him. Financial consultant. Successful. Stable. Generous. He remembered my students' names. He held me when I cried about budget cuts at school. He proposed with a ring I thought was worth thousands. Cubic zirconia. $200. Just like everything else, beautiful on the surface, worthless underneath. My mother asked why I didn't see the signs. I've been asking myself the same thing. Maybe I saw them and just didn't want to look. The vague answers about work. The business trips with no photos of him. The family that seemed nervous around money talk. The apartment that looked staged. The car that was always being serviced. Small inconsistencies. Easy to dismiss. Impossible to unsee now. He didn't just steal money. He stole 3 years of my life. He stole my trust. He stole my ability to believe what people tell me. His wife, his real wife, drove 9 hours to stop my wedding. She'd been looking for him for 2 years. 2 children. 8 years of marriage. A life he walked away from to build another fiction with me. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the second or third. 7 women across 5 states. A nurse who gave him $40,000. A librarian who lost her house. A dental hygienist whose money paid for my wedding while she thought she was planning her own. Every story was the same. He found women who were stable, responsible, slightly lonely. He studied them. He mirrored their values back at them. He made himself into exactly what they wanted. Then he drained them. When I confronted him, there was no shame. No guilt. Just calculation. You should be grateful, he said. I chose you. Out of everyone, I chose you. I almost laughed. You don't have the ability to choose. You're not even a real person. You're just a series of lies wearing a suit. The wedding guests who came anyway, to support me, not to celebrate, they're the only reason I got through that day. My maid of honor stayed 3 days straight. My mother held me while I sobbed. My co-workers took up a collection to help with my bills. They saved me. They reminded me that real love exists. That real people exist. That not everyone is a lie wearing human skin. He's in prison now. 7 women. years of documentation, wire fraud, identity theft, bigamy, up to 15 years. His wife is finally free. The other women are rebuilding. And I'm back in my kindergarten classroom, teaching 5-year-olds that it's okay to make mistakes. That being kind matters more than being smart. I'm not healed. Every compliment still feels like manipulation. Every kindness still feels like a trap. My therapist says trusting again is a process, not an event. But I'm surviving. I'm surrounded by people who showed up when everything fell apart. Their love, the real kind, the kind that asks for nothing in return, is worth more than anything he could have given me. If something feels too perfect, it might be. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. And if someone shows up at your rehearsal dinner claiming to be your fiancé's wife, believe her. The truth is always worth it. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts.